The Convict and the Nun. An hour before the curtain went up, the theatre was empty, but for a nun who was seated in the back row. She was eating toffees and made a loud noise each time she rustled the plastic bag to get one. "Oh, be quiet," came a voice from the other side of the theatre. Someone else was in there too. The nun turned her head to see who had spoken. It was a man, and he looked terribly pale, thin, and dirty. His head had been shaved, and his eyes looked wild and desperate. "Excuse me," said the nun indignantly. "Be quiet, or we'll be in trouble," replied the man. "There's no need to be rude. Keep the noise down, or we'll both cop it." "Cop it?" "That's right. We shouldn't be making noise at this time of night." "Why not?" "It's the rules. Didn't they give you your dinner?" "I had my dinner an hour ago, and now I'm having my sweets." "How did you get those sweets?" "I bought them." "You'd better be careful. If they catch you with them, you'll be in trouble." "I can't see why," replied the nun, who was utterly perplexed by the questions she was being asked. "How long have you been in here?" the man inquired. "About a year," the nun replied. "And you?" "About 7. I've got 3 to go. What are you in for?" "I've devoted my life to God." The man laughed. "You must be crazy." "I'm not crazy, and there's no need to speak to me like that."
"Oh, sorry."
"I had a calling many years ago when I was 16, but I thought nothing of it. I ignored it. But years later I went on a pilgrimage to Lourdes, and there I realized what my calling was."
"You're really crazy. Where did you say you went?"
"Lourdes, in France. It's a holy place."
"I've never cared for travelling myself. I like staying where I am. Not in here, of course."
"What's wrong with here?"
"What's wrong? What's wrong, she asks. I suppose you like being locked up?"
"I don't see it as being locked up. You're a very strange man."
"It would be tolerable if they fed us better."
"What's wrong with the food?"
"What's wrong with it? What's right with it? That slop's not fit for human consumption."
"You should be grateful that you have food. Many people go without."
"If they'd give us a nice hot roast every now and then, I'd be happy."
"We have a roast every Sunday." The man burst out laughing.
You've lost your marbles. The dampness must have got into your brain. They don't serve roasts in here. It's not a hotel."
"You're a very strange man."
"What do you plan to do when you get out?"
"I'm not getting out."
"I want to go live on a farm. You know, milk cows, breathe fresh air, go to bed early, get up at dawn. A complete change."
"When are you planning to leave?"
"I've still got 3 years to do."
"You talk as if it were some kind of sentence."
"Well, it is."
"You shouldn't think of it that way. Think of it as time spent with God."
"God doesn't exist."
"I beg your pardon?"
"Time spent with the devil is more like it."
"You should be ashamed of yourself."
"Why?"
"Speaking of God like that in a holy place."
"What in the world are you talking about?"
"The convent is not the place for such blasphemies."
"Convent? You'd better be careful. Do you know what they do with people who have lost their minds in here?"
"What?"
"They put them in solitary confinement."
"What nonsense."
"It's true."
The man's eyes became wider.
"I know. I've been there."
"You're talking nothing but nonsense."
"Shh!"
the man interrupted.
"I heard something."
"I hear nothing."
"People are coming."
"What of it?"
"Shh! Listen."
They both listened.
"I think someone's coming."
"Why don't you say a little prayer?" said the nun.
The man scoffed.
"It will bring you peace."
"Death will bring me peace."
"Ask God for guidance. He listens to all who pray to him."
If I asked God to get me out of here, Do you think he'd listen?
I don't know why you're so determined to get out of here. Why did you come here in the first place?
They put me in here for murder.
The nun dropped her bag of sweets and stood up.
But I'm innocent. Honest.
Murder? The nun could hardly speak. Does the Mother Superior know about this?
I don't know, but the warden does.
The man laughed wildly. You're the devil. You've been sent here to tempt me.
I wish I was the devil, so I could conjure a trick to get out of here.
I don't know how you got in here, or who let you in.
Oh, it's easy. They just opened up the door and threw me in. Getting in was the easy part. It's getting out that's the problem.
You have no place being here, you evil man.
Well, you're an evil woman.
Oh?
You woke me up rustling your bag of sweets.
You shouldn't be sleeping here.
Why not? I have the right to sleep. It's one of the few rights I have left. Sleeping, eating, and...
Please don't say any more. I have heard quite enough.
I have the right to speak.
Not like a vulgar beast, you don't.
I'm no beast.
You certainly behave like one.
I mightn't look very decent to the naked eye, but that's because I haven't had a good night's sleep in years, and I haven't had a good meal for years either. But that doesn't make me a beast. I'm as human as you. I have feelings too, you know.
That's hard to believe.
I wasn't always like this. I had a good job once. I worked for a newspaper, a very respectable job, I'll have you know. Then, one day, they pinned Joey Turner's murder on me.
Who's Joey Turner?
The fellow who got murdered. But I didn't do it. God's truth.
Please don't use that kind of language in here.
You think you're perfect, but you're not. You've got your faults too, woman.
Do not address me as woman. My name is Sister Ignatius.
Sister Ignatius? What did you do? Murder the parish priest?
The man roared with laughter. You're the devil himself.
You're the devil's dam.
How dare you speak to me like that? How dare you?
Shh. Someone's coming.
Don't shush me.
People are coming.
I've got something to say to you.
Be quiet. Listen.
They both listened. There were people coming. Many of them. You're in trouble now, said the nun. Somebody's probably overheard your vulgar language and called the police.
Oh, dear God. Don't let them get me. They'll throw me in the hole again.
You should have thought of that before, when you were saying all those nasty, vulgar things.
I'll do you a deal. Say it wasn't me. I'll make it worth your while.
Out of the question.
I'll give you 2 packets of cigarettes.
I don't smoke.
3 packets.
I don't smoke. The doors of the theatre burst open, and the opening night crowd poured in. He's over there, the nun called out, but no one seemed to hear her. Over there, she called out again, but the people ignored her and continued to fill the auditorium.
I'll murder you, the man bellowed, shaking his fist at the nun, but no one heard him either.
A young couple who were very nicely dressed arrived at the back row. The nun approached them. He's over there, she cried out, but the couple were oblivious to her. The nun started to fade. Here we are, said the young woman to her husband as she checked the ticket. Over there, the nun insisted as her voice started to echo. The couple walked straight past her and took their seats.
I'll murder you,
repeated the man as he too began to fade. When the last of the theatre patrons was seated, the man and the nun had vanished. The president of the theatre took centre stage.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to opening night for this year's season. Before we begin our performance of Intent to Murder, I'd like to tell you all a little bit about our theatre, which has a very interesting history. You might be surprised to know that this building wasn't always a theatre. A very long time ago, it was actually a small prison. And if you look around, you can still see 2 of the prison cells just behind the back row, which we're now using as storerooms. After it was closed down as a prison, it was rebuilt as a convent, and the nuns would make use of those 2 cells to pray in silence. There is also a rumor that sometimes the nuns would use these cells to gossip to one another in private, or to eat ice cream and sweets in secret. Things they weren't allowed to do during convent life.
The audience laughed.
Legend also has it that 1 or 2 ghosts still haunt the building.
The audience gasped.
Apparently, they come to see our shows, and if they don't like the performance, they start to make strange noises.
The women in the audience held onto their men. The president laughed.
I'm just joking. There are definitely no ghosts in here. All the ghosts moved out a very long time ago when the building was converted into a theatre. Besides, there's no such thing as ghosts, is there?
The audience laughed nervously.
Well, without any further ado, welcome again to opening night and enjoy tonight's performance of Intent to Murder.
The audience applauded. The lights went down and the auditorium went dark. All that could be seen was the red stage curtain, which was illuminated by a dull spotlight. A cry was heard in the back row of the auditorium.
"He's over there!"
"I'll murder you,"
came the reply. The audience applauded as the curtain went up.